All right, everyone. So if you can't tell, we have a special guest with us today that we are super excited about.
Absolutely. All the way from California.
Yeah.
Annabelle Lee is here, and we were fortunate enough to do, if you guys haven't seen it, you'll have to go back and watch it, the chicken nugget recipe that we tested with that kids. And that
Jen is now addicted to. She makes it like at least once a week, maybe
seriously,
twice.
Oh, I love it.
seriously, that recipe was phenomenal. I just cannot get enough of them. And you know, when Dave and I were talking about you coming on, I said to Dave, gosh, I really want to make those chicken nuggets again. So anytime I think of you, I associate those amazing chicken nuggets. So
if you come and visit us, I'll make them for you.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
We're very excited to come and visit.
So in case you guys haven't seen her, we found out about Annabelle on Dr. Gundry's podcast. Which if you're not watching, you should. You always learn interesting things. And she was talking about this cookbook, and so I immediately went and ordered it, and we have fallen in love with it.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay, well, all my recipe developing started when I developed some really painful autoimmune symptoms, and with my research I found that going grain-free, well, at first I thought gluten-free.
Right.
And when I went that route, all the starches in the gluten-free recipes, I ended up gaining weight, and I didn't feel much better. So I went a little further in my research and found that by eliminating grains, a lot of people felt better, and they had good results. So I went that route, and I was like, yes, this is it. And I was raising 4 boys at the time, so I needed to make recipes that they would eat.
Lots of recipes. Yes. 4 growing boys, lots of food coming out of that house.
Yes, and there was. And we all had, you know, everybody loved comfort foods. Even my husband, it's like pizza, you know, lasagna, those are their favorites, and how I always cooked. And so that's what I did. I made the recipes for that purpose, and I also used the food processor and blender a lot because it's quick and easy.
Dave and I are always looking for ways, you know, because it can be tedious, and that was one thing that was thrilling about the recipes in your book is the fact that they're so simple and quick and easy to make.
Right,
the chicken nuggets, for how quick they are, they just shouldn't taste that good. They're amazing.
Good.
Everything that we have made has been phenomenal.
Nice.
But I was surprised to learn that this actually wasn't your first book. You've actually published a book before this.
Yes, well,
This is one we got to try. So.
yes,
absolutely.
This one is all cupcakes, and I have to tell you,
Grain-free cupcakes.
Grain-free cupcakes.
Yeah.
When I first started doing this, this is what I started with, were the treats, because right, birthdays and everything. And it was so long ago that they didn't even sell coconut flour that to the, you know, in the regular grocery stores. And I don't think there was Amazon then. So I used blanched almonds and dehydrated coconut.
To make own. And the pictures. Dave needs to get some close-ups of these because they are just gorgeous.
I have to tell you, these are still my favorite way to make cupcakes, using the dehydrated coconut rather than the flour, because it has the coconut oil in it, and it just makes a fluffy. It makes a fluffy cake, makes a fluffy cupcake. I use a lot of whole foods, so that's why I use the blender and the food processor, and the whole foods take the place of the starches in the recipes. So you don't get what I call a starch belly, and you know, it shoots your blood sugar up, and a lot of people shouldn't eat starch any more than they should be eating sugar.
Right.
Or white flour. It's all starchy and high in carbs, and we just don't need it. But the reason why I made the baking mix is I was like, I just wanted to come downstairs on Sunday morning and grab a baking mix and make, you know, blueberry muffins or something really quick. And so that's why we have our baking mixes. And they do breads best, but on our website we have lots of other recipes that you can, you know, add do tweaks on them, and then we'll get all kinds of things from a double layer cake to, I don't know, pizza crust and tortillas and things like that.
Amazing.
I made a from scratch recipe, and then I made this one later, and I was giggling the whole time because it was so fast. It was
it's phenomenal.
Mix the wet ingredients, mix them together, put it in a pan, cook it. I mean, it was like 10 minutes. I was like,
project. We are starting a Kickstarter, hopefully next week. What we want to do is bring new organic mixes and also go beyond bread, because I have pancakes and I even have pasta.
Wow.
And all kinds of fun recipes using whole foods. So I won't use the starches. I use everything from maybe vegetable flours to apple flours and things like that, and combine them with the sometimes almond, sometimes coconut, which is a good base. I think those are the best flours for eating grain-free because they have so much fiber and protein in it, and not the high carbs.
Yes.
So I try to stay away from some of the other grain-free flours, and just add in the fruits and vegetables and give them some good personality.
Another thing I really appreciate about your website is the fact that you have a list of, like today, we're going to be using Psyllium husk powder.
Right.
You have a brand that you like, that you recommend for the best result.
Right.
And I love that that's available, because a lot of people who are new to this are like, I have no idea what to buy, and it's fantastic that service is available.
Well, and you mentioned the Psyllium husk, which is really important when you're starting out, because Psyllium, if you don't buy the husk, and I prefer the organic. I always buy organic when I can. And so buy organic because you just want to buy organic. Anyway, and some of the darker, if you were to get a different brand, if it's a little too dark, it's because it's been mixed with some of the seed. And it's fine, except it will change the color. Okay. And so it can add a purplish tinge, just a darker tinge. So the type I recommend on the website is my favorite, and you can get it at Sprouts. It's pretty widespread. You can get it on Amazon.
Perfect.
And then coconut flour is the other thing. Blanched almond flour is very generic because it's just ground blanched almonds. So no peels, you don't get the phytates and lectins and that from the peels. But the coconut flour brands really vary. So you just want to start with the lesser amount and add a little bit more, because if you need to, because some are more drying than others because of the oil.
And you can't take it out.
No.
You can always add it in, but
right,
you can't take it out.
So, and the brands do vary quite a bit. So
that's perfect. Thank you for that tip.
You're welcome.
I'm a stickler for measurements, and whenever I see a cup and like something as specific as 3 tablespoons, I'm like, really?
Right. Actually, our new packaging is going to have grams for those of you that actually weigh your baked things, because I found that is a big variation in measuring cups and spoons if they come from a different part of the world, or a lot of times it's a different measurement.
Is interesting.
So and it doesn't make such a big difference with the smaller ones and the free-form breads, but when you're baking it in a pan, and you've put too much water in, the bread can turn out too damp. So you do want to be careful with the wet ingredients.
So would you recommend to just keep everything the easiest, just to actually weigh?
Well, if you have a scale, and you can get one for $10 at Walmart, and if you really want to do good baking and that, it's nice to have a scale.
That's good to know. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I appreciate the fact that you told us that. Yeah. That's a great tip.
So
and especially with there you go. Especially with the grain-free baking too, because really when you scoop up a cup of coconut flour, it can be there can be a big difference when you're doing the sweep method, scoop and sweep method, or the pouring it in, and it does make a difference. So
That's good
the
to
good
know.
bakers, they weigh everything. So
perfect.
You published this book before you heard about the plant paradox.
Yes, I did.
There are some recipes in here, like for example, I know some have squash or
zucchini.
So if it has zucchini in it, you can do what Dr. Gundry says, which is just peel and seed it, or use the baby zucchini. That will help. You can also switch a zucchini for an apple, which works really good. And these are, you'd be surprised. You think maybe it's going to taste like a zucchini or taste like an apple, and it doesn't. It just is a very neutral flavor in there.
Get the book. I'll put a link in the description below, and for those of you who don't use YouTube a lot, right below the title there's a little drop down that lets you see the full description. But I will put a link to both of the books as well as to your website.
Thank you.
And fantastic. So impressed with the cookbook.
Aw,
Everything's been amazing. Thank you for coming on and baking with us today. Dave and I are thrilled.
Wow.
Yeah, we're happy to have new
I'm so
friends
happy
who
too.
share our passion
Yay,
for
yes.
awesome food.
Yes, you guys are great. You guys are great.
Absolutely.
Should we let's make a recipe?
Sounds
Okay.
great.